What's up, fellow FPL gamers? Guys, today we're going to be looking at the best players for you to buy in Game Week 7. Specifically looking at the best 6 I think you should all be buying. Now guys, before the video starts, as you know, I want to hit 1,000 subs, so let's make sure we're achieving that goal before the end of the season. Thank you very much, it'd be greatly appreciated. Anyway, let's get right into the video. Now guys, like I said, there's going to be 6 players we're going through. We're going to be going through from highest ownership to lowest ownership, okay? So some of these players you may have and some of them you may not. The first one I'm going to talk about is going to be very opinion based, and the chances are, if you think you should have him, you already do, and if you don't think you should have him, you never will anyway. And I'm going to be talking about Mr. Erling Haaland first of all. Now guys, give me a second to explain some things here, okay? Haaland is quite good for one main reason, I believe, okay? And that is the fact, if you have Haaland, you won't need another premium in your team. You won't need another player worth 10 mil or more, because Haaland, for the next 5 game weeks, is a valid captaincy option for every single one of those game weeks up until game week 11, which I think is insanely useful because you can get a bunch of other mid to slightly high priced players in your team without worrying too much about the money. This especially works for people like me who haven't used their wildcard yet. It works better for us because as soon as the games get a little tougher in game week 12, we can play the wildcard. It's going to be a very popular week for wildcards, guys. So that one is very useful for all of us. And even if you've already used your wildcard, you can run a team without Salah, Palmer or Saka for the next 5 game weeks and not worry about it too much. I'm not saying you should sell Saka, Palmer or Salah. Me personally, I'm going to sell Salah because I can, spend the money elsewhere. Overall, I think it works very nicely for a balanced team for the next 5 game weeks. In the previous videos, I haven't recommended Haaland because even though he's been very good to own, he is worth a lot of money. But in these next 5 game weeks, I do think anyone who owns him is going to benefit massively. The expected goals are still very high, and the goals, he's scoring even more than his expected goals. He's still overperforming them, which is what you want. It's kind of what you need from a striker that's costing 15.3, 15.4 mil. It's absolutely ridiculous how much he costs. If he keeps this up though, he's going to be worth it because if he ends the Premier League season with 50 goals, then I guess it'd be safe to say he probably was worth the money. He's not even been stinky recently. He's blanked once the entire season, but you kind of want, at least a brace every 2 games from Haaland if you want him to be worth the money. But he's going to get a hat-trick soon enough, guys. Don't you worry. While we are on the topic of Manchester City, guys, we're going to be looking at a defender this time. That is Gameweek. Now, a lot of people sold him just before he scored, and a lot of people decided to get Rico Lewis on the wild card instead. But I completely disagree, okay guys? I think Gameweek is more reliable for minutes than Rico Lewis, and he's more reliable for expected goal involvements than Rico Lewis as well. And for the extra 1.2, 1.3 mil, I strongly believe he's worth it. Now, Gameweek did just score last game week, and I'm not saying that's the only reason we should buy him. I'm not trying to chase last week points, but we've already talked about how good the fixtures are. And I know Manchester City, they always somehow end up conceding 1 goal. I think it's going to be different for these next 5 game weeks. I'm seeing at least 3 clean sheets here from them, guys. At least, maybe if not 2. But I'm seeing the expected goal involvements from Gameweek here, as you guys can all see as well. Per 90 minutes, he's getting 0.3 expected goal involvements, which, it's like for an attacker, that sounds really bad. But for a defender, that is quite good. It's very high. So yeah, those are the 2 Man City players out the way. The Man City fixtures are good, and those are the 2 best players from Man City. I would like Kevin De Bruyne or Foden, but don't know what's going on with Foden and Pep. Something's going on there. De Bruyne a bit injury prone and still a rotation risk, and everyone else isn't really getting the expected goal involvements, if I'm being honest, guys. It's just a Haaland show in the attack. Next up is Mbeumo, who I just realised is higher ownership than Gameweek. So yeah, my bad on that one, guys. I guess we're not doing it exactly in ownership order, but here we go anyway. Mbeumo, another very good long-term shout. He doesn't really have a hard game up until around game week 14, I believe. And, I guess you could say game week 8 playing away to Man United isn't the easiest. But Man United, they make a lot of mistakes. Trust me, I know. I watch them every week. So Mbeumo could take advantage of that, especially because, he's the main striker now. Wissa and Tony are out. And he's on penalties. If a silly tackle goes in, he'll be the one taking it. Before Wissa was injured, Mbeumo wasn't actually as good as people thought. He was getting the goals, but the expected goals were quite low. Now Wissa is gone, Mbeumo is the main striker. He's actually going to be hogging the expected goals himself. Not to mention, as you can see here, guys, he's getting the expected assist too. He's Brentford's main man. And if you see Brentford score, you can assume, it's a 50-50 chance he's going to be involved in it. Now, they haven't actually been too good, Brentford, recently, despite scoring in the first minute of 3 games in a row. I don't think they won any of those games. They overall not been great. But I still think Mbeumo is good because, like I said, the next 6 or 7 games, aside from Man United away, they're very good. Now, surprisingly enough, guys, we actually have 2 Spurs players to talk about in this video, which I never thought I'd be saying in the best players to buy. But Spurs, long term, they got pretty good fixtures. I mean, you'd be bringing them ahead of Brighton away, which is probably their hardest game in the next 6, if I'm being totally honest. But it's still not even that hard of a game. And there's 2 players with the underlying data especially that stand out way more than anyone else. The first one we'll talk about is Solanke. Now, when we look at the data at the bottom here, you know, it's normally based off the last 4 games per 90. Solanke, minutes-wise, has only just played over 2 games. So the data is not as reliable, but as you can see, regardless, the expected goals are very high. The only unreliable bit about this, aside from the fact it's only 2 and a bit games, is that he did play against 10 men for a half of football, which, you know, means it could be a little higher than it should be. But either way, Spurs, good games, and they're attacking quite well at the moment. So Solanke is someone you should all be thinking about. There's a reason a lot of people got him in on their wild card. His main problem is a problem he's never had before, like a Bournemouth. He got the expected goals and he was always overperforming them. At Spurs, he's currently underperforming his expected goals on the whole, which is a bit weird for Solanke, but you know, it's a new environment. It's a little bit different. He's just scored 2 goals in the last 2 games, so he could be turning a new leaf now. He could be, you know, improving his form, scoring these chances every week that come towards him. And I do think he'll pick up that form again because it's not like you just change team, then lose all your goal scoring form that you ever had. So yeah, another Spurs player who I would argue is just as good, if not only slightly worse, is James Maddison. Now, James Maddison has got the expected data proven over a long period of time, a reliable amount of data. And his minutes are very secure as well, which is always good. Then again, so are Solanke's. He just hasn't played as much recently. What I like about James Maddison is that he has the expected goals and the expected assists. This is always good because that way you've got many avenues to go down. In fact, I was looking at his expected data. The only game where he hasn't got a decent amount of expected goals or expected assists was that game against Newcastle where he only got 1 point. And to be honest, the Spurs games haven't been exactly easy up until now. So if James Maddison, you know, you see played 2 easy games at the beginning, he got returned in both of those games. Then he's played a few hard games and he didn't get returns in those, which is understandable. Now he's got the easy teams to play against. Just imagine what he can do against all of the easy teams. I think it's scary hours for people that aren't going to own James Maddison. I currently plan on bringing him in game week 8, maybe even game week 7, but I kind of need Mbeumo. You see, that's what I mean when I have more fires to put out. But you know, we're not here to talk about me. I'm a big fan of James Maddison and Solanke. I think it would be a good idea to own both because if you want to get into that Spurs attack through the midfield, Maddison is a great option. If you want to get it through your front line, your front 3, Solanke is also a great option for you guys to be going after. And finally, guys, the last player we are going to be talking about actually has the most expected assist across the entire season so far. And it's not anyone you would expect. It is Dwight McNeil. Now, I'm not just trying to chase last game week's points either with Dwight McNeil, okay? I'm not, right, when I say you should buy him, right, I don't even want you to think about the fact he's going to score goals. Even though he scored 2 last game week, he's probably not going to score a goal for the next 5. But it's the assists where he comes in. Like I said, the most expected assists in the entirety of FPL this season. At only 5.5, 5.4 mil, that's insanely cheap. Not to mention, Everton probably do have the best fixture right now of any team in the league. If you're looking at the next 4 here, they all look really good. And the next few after that are very comfortable. I say comfortable, I mean for Everton, they're going to be tough games, but for their attack, it's going to be quite tasty. It's, you know, it's quite good looking, it's quite attractive. Now, I'm hearing DCL shouts, Dominic Calvert-Lewin shouts, but honestly, I think McNeil is the only Everton attacker you should be going for. I mean, it's technically a little unreliable because, like I said, it's the expected assists, and his teammates don't always like to finish off the expected assists, let's be honest. But if you're looking for a cheap player, I strongly believe you should look no further than Dwight McNeil. So yeah, guys, those are my top 6 players for you to buy in game week 7. Now, I think all of these guys are going to return at least once in the next 2 game weeks and several times across the next 5 or 6. They're good long-term options. They're not just, you know, 1 game week and then they're shit. These guys are actually all pretty good. At least they are in my humble opinion. Let me know what you guys think down below. Did I recommend any good players? Do you think I'm a fraud? Am I terrible at the game? Please let me know. Anyway, if you did make it this far in the video, thank you very much. You are always greatly appreciated. And I will see you guys in the next one.